Hello and welcome to this presentation of The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by the Scottish writer Robert Louis Stevenson. This gothic novella was written in 1886. This is a brand new book from the brand new publishers based in Zagreb, Croatia. They are called Amaranthine Books. They have two editions of this book. One is in all white and this is in all black instead. And I've had the opportunity to be in contact with the creative director and founder of Amaranthine Books, Marko Matijasevic. So I've had a chance to ask a few questions about Amaranthine Books that I will go through at the end of this video when I've finished talking about this edition. But before we talk about the book itself, we're gonna go through this very nice slipcase. It's bound in the same material as the book, I believe, which is called skin paper. I will talk a bit about that later, but this slipcase has some UV coating. It is handmade to fit the book perfectly. There's no tightness at all when you place the book inside the slipcase, which I will demonstrate right now. As you can see here, the book fits perfectly inside the slipcase. And you can also remove the book without any trouble at all. It just slips right out. Exactly what you want from a slipcase. So there will not be any unnecessary damage when you remove the book from the slipcase in this case, which is great. But otherwise the slipcase is of good quality, and you can see here the embossing of the scars on this side compared to this one. But it's a sturdy slipcase, no complaints at all. And here we can see the book itself. It's bound in skin paper, as I said, with a design by Nebojša Cvetković, who also has illustrated this book. And it's a very simple design here. We have the front cover. Embossed here with the hand holding the test tube, and on the back cover we can see this design instead to illustrate the two sides of Mr. Hyde. So this book is bound in skin paper, which is quite smooth paper. It's also coated, so you can use a damp cloth to clean the paper without the risk of damaging it. Which is very nice. But it also says on the website that the book will develop a patina over time, so it will resemble leather in a way. The material will change over time. Which I'm not sure if I would call a feature rather than just a result of wear and tear. But to each of their own, I guess. I'm not overly concerned with markings on books. And here we can see the spine, and as you would imagine, it's quite hard to tell what the spine says if you're not holding the book up close or in specific angles so the light can hit the embossing. But since it's an all black edition, it of course wouldn't make sense to put white text on here. So the Mr. Hyde edition is of course all white, so it's a similar problem there where you can't easily read the text. And as you can see on the top of the pages and all surrounding the book, it's all black, which is actually a result from the paper being all black in itself, which is a feature I will talk about soon. And I know that Marko was keen on making this book as good as possible when it comes to holding it and for the reading experience itself, and he has absolutely succeeded with that. It's quite a light book, and the skin paper has a very nice grip to it as well. And before I move on into the book, I want to say that this book contains Easter eggs throughout the book. I think there are a total of 4 Easter eggs, and I will cover maybe all of them. I will have to see. But the first Easter egg we will stumble upon right now when you see these UV spotted end papers. And this chemical formula is relevant to the author's life. It's the chemical formula of cocaine, which allegedly Robert Louis Stevenson was most highly affected by when he wrote this novella. So that's a very neat Easter egg. And at the end of the book, Marko talks a bit about this as well, and the story about Robert Louis Stevenson when he was writing this novella. And here we have the title page. Here you can see The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Robert Louis Stevenson, and it says here that this is the Hyde edition. Amaranthine Books with the nice logo here. And here we have the concept by Marko Matijasevic, who is the, like I said, the creative director of Amaranthine Books and also the founder, and illustrations and design by Nebojsa Cvetkovic. And here comes the copyright page. And it says here that the book was published in 2015, which is somewhat correct, but it was not sold until 2018. And the book is set in Brioni. It's printed on popset black paper in Zagreb and bound in skin paper, which I talked about earlier, with a design by Nebojsa Cvetkovic. Then we move on to the contents, and here you can see the chapters, and also at the end we have the list of illustrations and also an afterword by Marko. And then the book begins, and every chapter has a special chapter heading, which is then very neat. But of course I have to cover this very special paper that they have used. But first I want to talk a bit about the text size and readability of the book. The text size is above medium, very readable, and if you have ever read anything on a monitor that has a black background with white text, it's sometimes quite hard to read that since you get some eye strain. The backlighting on a monitor makes the text appear more bright, and it's therefore harder to read in some cases, but I feel nothing of that when I watch the text on this book. So this will most likely be a comfortable reading experience, reading white text on black paper. But the popset black paper is completely wood free. It's also very thick and no light at all can go through this paper. I've tested with a flashlight to see if I could see the light from the other side, and I could not. So there's zero bleed through, which of course you would expect from a fully black paper. But as I said, it's wood free, so therefore pH neutral, acid-free paper in a very great quality. The texture is not really rough, but it doesn't have that every wove smoothness that can be typical for wove paper. But now, having covered the paper and the text, we can move on to the illustrations by Nebojsa Cvetkovic. And the illustrations are 12 in total. They show two perspectives, and when you watch these illustrations, do look for a portrait in the background, which is of a particular person that is very relevant to this book. But now, I hope you will enjoy these illustrations. And welcome back. I hope you enjoyed these illustrations. I think they are quite great illustrations. I'm very happy with them. And at the end we have the list of illustrations and the afterword. So feel free to read the afterword if you want to. And here at the end we have the chemical formula of cocaine, and the end papers at the back are the same. And when we check out the binding, we will see a black headband matching the rest of the book, and the book is also completely smooth sewn and the spine is rounded. And the book opens up like a charm. For being a novella and not having many pages, it's really a joy to handle this book since it opens up so very well. I really wish more publishers would put more importance on their bindings so that they open up fully and are not too tight or too stiff, which this book really nails compared to other books. And also, to my joy, you receive this note, which if you have been a subscriber on my channel, watch my videos, you know that I've already made a video talking a bit about how to open up a book for the first time to avoid any damage to the spine. So this is a very nice detail. So that was the presentation of The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde from Amaranthine Books. Very surprised by the amount of quality they have put into this book, the amount of thought and just passion, especially from not having published any previous books. This is a real joy, and I do recommend this edition. And this is the first time actually that I have had a chance to talk with the creative mind behind the book. And after I found out about this edition on the Full Society Devotees, the Library Thing forum, I contacted Marco and told him that I wanted to review this book and give the book a chance, so I bought it, and here I have it. And I really want to help new publishers out there who are just beginning their book journey, and I hope this video will help somewhat. But now I want to talk a bit about the questions I asked Marco about the future of Amaranthine Books and what their plans are for upcoming projects and stuff. So I initially asked 3 questions to Marco, and they were what types of books Amaranthine Books are planning to publish in the future, the genre, or are they going to just publish classic works, public domain works in the beginning, or more contemporary books. And I also asked if Amaranthine Books are planning to publish more books this year, and also if they're planning to publish limited editions. And for the first question, he answered that they do not have any specific genre of books that they want to publish, so not only Gothic works like this first book, and they also want to publish classics in the broader sense of the word. And now at the beginning they are of course going to focus on public domain works, since it's much cheaper than getting the rights to publish a book, which is of course very understandable. But these are some of the titles that Marco might want to publish in the future. We have The Martian, The Count of Monte Cristo, The Song of Ice and Fire, The Picture of Dorian Gray, Harry Potter, Frankenstein, The Iliad and the Odyssey. And you can get a pretty good idea of the books they have in mind for the future by those titles. And as for more editions this year, he was not really sure if they are going to publish more editions this year. But a serious candidate for a book that they want to try to publish this year is Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray, which I really hope they manage to do. And as for the limited editions, he said that they have discussed limited editions, but that they want their standard editions to feel like limited editions, which is of course very important, but also that they would like to tackle limited editions in the future. And that was somewhat of a summary of what we discussed in email, but I was very happy to have the chance to contact the creative director, which is of course not very usual for me. And one more thing that is very important to mention is that Amaranthine Books started off on Kickstarter in 2015, and they didn't succeed with their Kickstarter campaign. And Marco and his team had to bring out this book without the help of donations. So I'm very impressed that they actually managed to create this book. And I've even stumbled upon quite a few times of Kickstarter campaigns that I've supported that did not even release their product even after their Kickstarter campaign succeeded. So having your Kickstarter campaign fail but still manage to produce the product is very impressive, and it shows a lot of character and will and a passion for the project, I have to say, and it definitely shows in the quality of the book. But please, I do recommend checking out Amaranthine Books. I will leave a link in the description and a link in the comment section to the website if you want to check it out. It's also a great website with a lot of pictures, and that is something most publishers rarely do, even the finest of fine press publishers. Some publishers do not even put out pictures of their books, but Amaranthine Books are very different. They have a lot of high quality pictures of their books. But that's, I think, was all I wanted to say. If I forgot something, I will talk about it in the comment section or in the description, so make sure to check that out. But you can support my channel through Patreon or using my Taschen affiliate link, which you will find in the description as well. And if you have any questions about this book or any other book in my collection, then please leave a comment and I will answer it as quickly as I can. But other than that, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I hope I will see you all next time. Goodbye.